Hi, and welcome to this new episode. From time to time, you meet someone new, and sooner or later, the questions are asked. What do you think about aliens? Do you think they exist? And these are my answers, moving from the simpler to the more complex ones. I rarely share all of them at once, but this time I will do it, so let's go. The number of possibilities is possibly the easiest and shortest one to begin with. As of 2025, there are over 6,000 confirmed exoplanets. Around 70 of them are listed as potentially habitable, meaning they are rocky, Earth-sized planets inside the Goldilocks or habitable zone, the zone where water exists in liquid form and can sustain life. So if the planet is too close to its star, the water boils away. If the planet is too far away, the water freezes. So the estimated number of exoplanets of all types by Kepler studies is 100 to 400 billion in our galaxy alone. But more recent studies suggest the number could be 1 to 2 trillion planets, since most stars, maybe nearly all of them, have planets in orbit. The estimated number of rocky planets of all sizes in the Goldilocks or habitable zone is tens of billions in our galaxy alone. And within that, the estimated number of rocky Earth-sized planets in the Goldilocks habitable zone is approximately 300 million within our galaxy alone. And remember, these numbers are only for our Milky Way galaxy. Imagine the possibilities for life if we count all the billions of galaxies out there. Now let's scale it down to our solar system. And the possible places to find alien life already start in our very closest neighborhood on Mars. If we ever find bacterium or algae or fungi or whatever with the rovers that are already there or with something else after them, that's already alien life. Now let's move to Europa, the Jupiter's moon. It's a beautiful moon covered in a sheet of ice, and there is a big ocean detected under that thick layer of ice that is approximately 15 to 100 kilometers, and that's a lot of ice. There are geysers erupting 200 kilometers high. Those were detected by Hubble in 2012. This thing happening there is also called cryovolcanism. It's similar to the volcanoes on Earth, but the volcanoes on Earth are spewing magma, and these openings are spewing a mix of water vapors and gases that are crystallizing when they reach the surface. There is this Europa Clipper mission that started with phase 1, and it was launched in October 2024. The orbiter that was launched is scheduled to reach Europa in 2030 to look for the best landing spot and take other valuable data. So all this data is collected for the phase 2 that is going to launch somewhere after 2040. And there is a possible cryobot concept with radioisotope thermoelectric generators or RTGs that are going to be placed inside its tip. And those RTGs are going to heat the tip. So the cryobot looks like a missile or a torpedo, however you want to call it. And it's going to point towards the ice. The tip is going to be pointed towards the ice and released bit by bit because the heated tip is going to melt the ice, and the cryobot is going to sink deeper and deeper through the ice sheet until it possibly reaches the ocean that is underneath. So the method is like more passive because there is no moving part, there is no drill, but it's much more efficient. Its sensors in the tip will detect where the ice layer stops and when the water layer begins. And when that happens, it will transition to a hydrobot, possibly with a camera and all kinds of sensors. I really wish to see that moment. Imagine the first videos from an alien ocean. Imagine the darkness and the lights, possibly the infrared, when it arrives on Earth, when they display, when they display the first images of an underwater world. It's gonna be just incredible, and I really wish I will be alive at that time, because I feel, as of now, I feel there is something on Europa and inside that ocean. So it might be plankton, some kind of plankton, but those are living organisms, and that would be alien life. And since we're on the Europa subject, if you like science fiction about space, I'll take the occasion to suggest a movie I really enjoyed more than once. And I rarely watch movies more than once. It has to be really interesting. It's called Europa Report from 2013. When you watch it, feel free to leave a comment if you like it, or how did you perceive it. So that was about Europa, but it's not the only icy world in the solar system. Enceladus is a Saturn's moon. It's kind of similar to Europa in terms of geysers shooting vapor. Those are hints to a possible ocean underneath too. So all that experience from the Europa missions are gonna build for sure better machines for the Enceladus mission. Finally, I would like to mention Titan. It's the Saturn's largest moon. There is liquid methane and ethane. I mean, there are smaller, bigger lakes, rivers. It is toxic to us, but remember the extremophiles on Earth that can live in extremely harsh conditions. So even if a world is harsh like Titan, there might be life. So there are already so many possibilities to find alien life without even moving from the solar system. But if we move further, I'm going to tell you about water in space. And one very important thing to have in mind is that water is everywhere in the galaxy. So actually, it's everywhere in the whole universe, and a lot of it. Because hydrogen, as the first element or the simplest atom, was created in huge amounts very early after the Big Bang, inside just 20 minutes from the bang. And oxygen came later, but much later, forged in fusion processes of stars, because of the way they burn their shells of elements. They combine lighter elements into heavier elements. So at one stage, they produce oxygen. And the oxygen is released in the supernova explosions. When oxygen smashed into hydrogen clouds, the two combined and still combine very easily to form the water clouds all around the universe. I mean, in the galaxies, of course. That's why water isn't rare. It's been produced naturally all across the galaxies for billions of years. Astronomers found a water cloud 140 trillion times bigger than all Earth's oceans. It's 12 billion light years away, and that means it was created when the universe was 2 billion years old. It's the water cloud around the quasar APM08279 plus 5255. And another place is in the constellation of Orion. Water-rich clouds are already present where stars and planets are born, so it means that some ancient supernova pushed oxygen into hydrogen there too. Then there is TW Hydri. It's 175 light years away. It is a vast disk of water vapor around a young star, and the amount of water is enough to fill thousands of Earth's oceans. There are also exoplanet atmospheres 700 light years away. There is WASP 39b. It's a hot Jupiter with water vapor detected in its atmosphere. So the conclusion is that our own galaxy has water everywhere. Now that I explained to you that water is everywhere, let's move. It's time to move to the closest star system to us, which is called the Alpha Centauri star system. It is a triple star system consisting of Alpha Centauri A. It is a sun-like star or a G-type star. Alpha Centauri B is a bit smaller than Alpha Centauri A, and it is an orange dwarf or a K-type star. The third one is Alpha Centauri C or Proxima Centauri. It's called Proxima because Proxima means it is the next one to us. It is the closest one to us. It is the smallest. It is a faint red dwarf, an M-type star, orbiting at a larger distance around the AB pair. So the AB pair have their own barycenter. It is a center of mass around which they orbit, and further away there is Proxima Centauri that is like going around them in a big elliptical orbit. Proxima Centauri is in our focus now. It's the closest star to our sun. It's 4.24 light years away. A small red dwarf like this remains stable for hundreds of billions of years, fusing hydrogen into helium. There are 2 planets discovered around it: Proxima B in 2016 and Proxima D in 2022. Both planets do not transit their star, so no transit method detection was possible about these two. Also, no absorption spectroscopy of the atmosphere wasn't possible because a planet needs to pass in front of its star, so the light from the star filters through the atmosphere of the planet and leaves a chemical fingerprint detectable by our instruments. When the light from the star passes through the atmosphere of the planet, it reaches us, and the elements block the frequency. Each element has its own frequency. And the spectrum of light has all of these frequencies, and each element blocks one frequency. So a black line appears, and with that method, we know which element is present in the atmosphere of a specific planet, because the elements block a certain wavelength, and that wavelength exactly shows a black line. It's a cool technique of revealing the structure of the atmosphere, the chemical structure. So the 2 rocky planets were discovered by the radial velocity method. It is the method that exposes the Doppler shift. So when something is rotating around a star, like a planet, it makes the star wobble because the planet has its gravitational pull on the star, and the star is wobbled by those forces. When that happens, the star travels closer to Earth and further away from Earth. When doing that, it stretches or compresses the electromagnetic wavelength of the light that reaches Earth. So when the star travels a bit like further away from Earth, the wavelength that reaches us is stretched, and the wavelength becomes longer. When the wavelength gets longer, the color it emits is red. When the star travels closer to us, it compresses. So you see, we are here, the star comes towards us, and the wavelength is compressed. The waves are much more compressed, and when the wavelength is compressed, then it emits blue light. That is the red shift and the blue shift, and that is the method with which those planets were discovered. So, Let's talk about Proxima D. Proxima D is outside the Goldilocks or habitable zone because it's too close to its star, where it's just too hot for liquid water to exist even beneath the surface. So we are hooked to Proxima b. The mass is approximately 1.2 Earth's masses. The diameter is approximately 1.1 Earth's diameters. It's inside the habitable or Goldilocks zone, but the problem is it's blasted by stellar flares or coronal mass ejections, also called in abbreviation CME. You might have heard for those. Those flares are stronger than our sun's flares measured in X-ray and ultraviolet radiation and can easily strip a planet's atmosphere. So Proxima b faces stellar wind pressures 1,000 to 2,000 times stronger than what Earth faces from the Sun. And in that regard, we have to speak about its magnetic field. Our radio telescopes today aren't sensitive enough to confirm such a faint signal of its magnetic field from 4.24 light years away. So when you do the calculations, if Proxima b has a stellar wind dynamic pressure 2,000 times stronger than the one Earth experiences, it means a 32 to 45 times stronger magnetic field would be needed for a rocky planet of that size to retain life. The maximum predicted magnetic field for Proxima b is 10 times the power of the Earth's magnetic field. So that planet is highly unlikely to harbor life, right? But what could squeeze out that little possibility and help it? There is a chance. A very thick atmosphere might be the solution. Tens to thousands of bars, like on planet Venus, that would block radiation and slow atmospheric loss. And a high volcanic activity would also be needed that would replace gases that are continuously stripped away by the flares. Even though no trail of stripped gases has been detected, that doesn't mean it isn't there. It could just be too faint for our detectors to pick up with our technology today. And even a faint, undetected trail like that could still mean that the planet holds onto enough atmosphere to shield life below the surface. So, surface life is very unlikely for Proxima b, but subsurface or underwater life could still be shielded. So, the thing is, there is a possibility that life exists there, even a super intelligent one. And why I say even a super intelligent one? In fact, aliens from Proxima b might be the ones that already visited us first. I'd like to talk about the technology of the possible aliens from Proxima d. The head start they could have had might be huge, because not every planetary system was created in the universe at the same time. The age of Proxima Centauri star is approximately 4.85 to 5 billion years. Our sun is 4.6 billion years old. So Proxima b planet could be up to 200 to 400 million years ahead of life on Earth in principle. Now imagine what kind of technology that could be. Can you imagine humans in 200 to 400 million years? I mean, it's hard to imagine what we might achieve in 500 years, 1,000 years, let alone, I mean, I can hardly imagine what kind of technology might exist if we survive, if we don't destroy ourselves in 500,000 years or a million years. I mean, that kind of technological leap is kind of unimaginable. We might as well be all nanobots at that time already without human bodies. So if we talk about 200 to 400 million years, maybe the Dyson sphere is just ridiculous to them. Because only in 3 million years, we went from stone tools to nuclear energy. In 200 years, we went from riding horses to rockets and AI, and stretch that to 200 or 400 million years, and the scale of progress is just incomprehensible. And the last place, the last mention that I'm gonna do is the TRAPPIST-1 system. TRAPPIST-1 is an ultra cool red dwarf. It is a M8V type star, much smaller than our sun. It's 40 light years away from us. There are 7 rocky planets orbiting, with 3 of them in the habitable zone. JWST, or the James Webb Space Telescope, already began calibrating to start analyzing the atmospheres of TRAPPIST-1E, 1F, and 1G. Those are the 3 ones that are in the habitable zone. And I really can't wait for the news about that system. So for now, I spoke just about 4 planets in the Goldilocks habitable zone. Just imagine again how many planets are out there in one galaxy, the Milky Way, and how many possibilities for alien life are there in the whole universe. It is just mind-blowing. So one thing comes to my mind from the internet, it is the thesis that aliens came here for our gold. And I need to answer this one, or I have to speak about, I feel the need to speak about this one in this episode. Do aliens need gold from Earth, or humans as their laborers? I mean, with a technology that can travel through space and time, any of those races, maybe there are already dozens here on Earth, already dozens of alien races visited Earth, and for that, you have to have the technology that can travel in immense speeds to reach such vast distances. And that requires a very high level of technology. So, are we kidding? Well, I don't think they need us, because with that kind of technology they use for interstellar travel, they can harvest stars or even create matter directly out of energy itself. So, if needed, they can create gold. They can harvest. They can mine the whole asteroid belt that has so much gold that is incredible amount of time, bigger reserves of gold and other metals, precious metals, durable metals that are out there. They have for sure drones that can do the work. And I think, like, for real, the Earth's gold really isn't needed. So I think that maybe they came looking for something else. To observe a species still trying to learn how not to fight. Of course, us. Maybe to observe how they began through us. Because imagine how far in their history that is. They might want to look directly at their past. They might be watching us right now, waiting to see if we're ready for first contact. But I think that unfortunately, most of people today are not ready. And I will take this occasion to thank the aliens, if they exist, for showing our military not to play with fire when we started playing with nuclear bombs. And that brings me to a chapter, to the linked evidence in history about that. So it is the Cold War era. It is 1947 to 1991. UFOs and UAPs have been reported around missile bases and other sensitive nuclear infrastructure. Like in 1964, Big Sur in California, USA, an Army official claims that a UFO disabled a missile during test. And I watched documentaries about that. Also, in 1967, Maelstrom AFB missile complex in Montana, USA, a missile went offline. Retired USAF personnel claimed that a UFO hovered over a missile site, and all 10 Minuteman missiles at that site went offline. On October 4th, 1982, according to some Russian UFO reports, there was an incident in Soviet Ukraine where multiple missile launch facilities became active while a UFO hovered overhead. Allegedly, something entered the correct launch codes in the computers, bringing the world seconds away from nuclear war. And then the system reverted to normal. And that's why I previously thanked them, because if they exist, they seem capable of stopping our worst madness. Because we are the biggest enemies to ourselves. And maybe they have done it because of all other species on this planet, not just for us. Maybe totally not for us, but for the biodiversity, because of the incredible biodiversity there is on Earth. Everywhere we looked until now in the universe, there are no signs of life. So, in contrast to that, all of these species here, the crazy amount of species on this planet that there are. So, if people on Earth don't know how precious this planet is, they know for sure. And if they are here, I thank them again. I'm pretty sure they understand that not all humans are bad, and that there are so many of us who just want to respect the other and want world peace, and want all of us working together for a better future. So probably they are measuring our collective readiness not to cause psychological and social collapse, because not all people could stand their arrival or their showing up. Our system is still fragile with all the religions, and I think most of the people are not yet ready. But with everything in the world that's going on, the sightings, the movies about aliens, it's like we are preparing ourselves to accept the possibility of the day that they would like to expose themselves to us. Little by little, I think we are getting ready. If they are listening right now, if they will maybe watch this episode, the aliens, I would like to state that a subgroup of people is ready for the first contact for sure right now. If an advanced civilization judged that full immediate disclosure would cause panic and collapse, then approaching the mentioned subgroup of humans that is mentally prepared would be the least disruptive and most respectful way to begin. It would not be favoritism, but a bridge strategy. Let's start with those who can handle it calmly, establish dialogue, learn from each other, and then expand outward once there is a framework in place. Maybe they are a race of nanobots that can hide in plain sight, take any shape, but I say no more hiding, at least not from everyone. And this brings me to the final words for this episode, where I send a big thank you to all the astronomers, scientists, mission teams, and honest reporters who devoted their lives to these discoveries. Your dedication is the reason this episode exists and the reason we can imagine these things about the universe. Thank you all, and see you in the next episode.